Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jackie if you're new here. I need you guys to pull up a chair. Go ahead, pull up a chair, get comfy, because almost a year later, it's finally time to discuss Cruise Croatia with EF Ultimate Break. I'm going to be going over all you need to know about the trip, about the itinerary, and some tips and tricks that can help you out if you're thinking about booking it or already have it booked and are looking forward to it. So yeah, let's get into it.
Subscribe to my channel.
To start, I don't think I've ever introduced him, but this is Jackson. This is my son. He will probably be popping in and out of the video because he's not used to me talking to a camera. So yeah, but this is Jackson. Next order of business is my little disclaimer that I am an EF Ultimate Break ambassador, and what that means is that I have a little link and code that you can use down below to get a little discount on your first booking with EF Ultimate Break. Depending on when you're watching this video, the ambassador program may no longer exist, but I'm still gonna have some sort of discount down below. So this little section stands regardless. Also, with that being said, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm going to tell you guys the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'm going to give you my honest opinion because that's what I would want if I were searching up a video like this. So yeah, okay, let's keep going. I have my handy dandy iPad with all the notes that I want to go over about this trip. My recap review videos are always so freaking long, so I'm going to try to not do that. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with flights. So I booked the flights through EF. I had them do everything because I just cannot be bothered. And I was not mad at it this trip. I had a pretty good itinerary. I left from LA at 3:05 p.m. and had one layover in Vienna for 1.5 hours. And then I arrived in Split at 2:15 p.m. And the first flight was through United, and the second flight was through Austrian Airlines. So not bad. And then on the way back, I left Split at 7:20 a.m., had one layover in Frankfurt for 4.5 hours, and arrived in LA at 4:55 p.m. And those flights were with Lufthansa. So I was super happy with my flight itinerary this trip. Did not have any complaints. Like, do not think I could have booked it better myself. And yeah, so yay EF, you did your big one on this one. Next section is going to be group dynamic and tour director discussion. So starting with group dynamic, this was a group coordinated trip. 2 ambassadors that I had met through social media but hadn't met in person yet, Steph and Emily. They put together this trip and we booked it 2 years in advance, I believe, and we sold out that boat in, I believe, just a few hours, which was insane. And the group was just a whole bunch of other EF ambassadors and their friends and people they had met through other trips, and it was just great to meet everyone in person that I had been following on social media and like talked to on social media before. So it was really cool experience. It made the vibes going into the trip really great because a lot of people already knew each other, like actually were like friends and I knew of everyone going into it, so it just like made going into the trip really easy. Not that any other EF trip is ever hard, but like I didn't have the like initial like nerves of going into it solo like I usually do, which was kind of cool to experience. And just the group dynamic the whole trip was amazing. Everyone got along great. Everyone was such a fun time. And yeah, chef's kiss, amazing. Love everyone on that trip, and I hope I get to travel with them again because love everyone. Okay. Next, let's talk about our amazing tour director, Ivana. She was super sweet, so kind, just amazing. Our group had a lot of big personalities and she handled it like a freaking champ. She was amazing, and she always had so many recommendations to give us in each different city. She would send us like so many different texts of like activities to do, places to eat, things to see, here's where you should shop, yada yada yada. She was amazing. The last day I had asked her for tattoo recommendations. She sent me a whole bunch, and it was just, she was amazing. No bad words to say about that lady. She is an angel and she deserves all her flowers. She also sang for us on one of the last days of the trip, and she should be on like a big stage somewhere, but until she gets discovered, I am going to enjoy her being a tour director because she is just amazing at it. Next, let's talk about accommodations. So there were 2 different accommodations for this trip. I don't know if I've said it already, but I went on the plus version of this trip. Throwing that out there. So our first hotel was Hotel Mondo. No complaints. Pretty standard. 2 twin beds. AC was all right. It's Europe. AC is never really strong, but AC was okay. Shower was good. Everything was clean. Breakfast was decent. There was a restaurant on site that was good. It was 20 to 30 minutes outside of the city center, which is pretty standard for EF hotels. But I will say that Ubers to and from the city center were pretty cheap. I don't think I ever spent more than like 10 euros, which was great. I remember sending my mom like screenshots every time I ordered an Uber because I was just like so amazed at how cheap it was. But yeah, no complaints. I really liked Hotel Mondo. And then, of course, the star of the show, we went onto our ship. We went on Le Méridien. It's putting it here because it has a special J in there, and I don't know how you really pronounce that, but I'm going to say Le Méridien. 10 out of freaking 10, no notes. Loved, loved, loved our boat. My friend went on the same trip, also plus version, like a month later, and no shade, she had an amazing trip, but our boat was a lot better. Our boat was just nicer. Like, even she said it, like our boat just looked nicer, and yeah. So I was really happy with the boat that we got, 10 out of 10. Now let's discuss a little bit of the things that make living on a boat kind of different, because it's not something you see on any other EF trip. So how you get your room assigned is a lottery. I'll explain a little bit more when I get into the itinerary section, but you're basically going to get a random room assignment with the roommate that you were assigned for the trip or the roommate that you chose for the trip, because there's like 3 different stories. So you can have the very top floor, the middle, the main floor, or like the basement. I will say most of the couples were on the top floor, and the main floor I believe had most of our like single room accommodations, but there were like some double occupancies there too, and the basement was all double occupancies, I'm pretty sure. I was in the basement, and that's where I wanted to be. Like, going into the trip, I thought I wanted to be like somewhere where I can like walk out and see the ocean. Of course, that's what you picture, right? Living on a boat. But the more I thought about it, I was scared about getting seasick. So I was like, I feel like being in the basement would be the safest option. You feel like the rocking less. Also, I heard that in the basement, the AC works the best. So I was like, put me in the basement. And so I was really happy when the lottery happened and we ended up getting the basement. Our AC was the best. Everyone on the like higher floors was complaining about their ACs. Ours was amazing. So keep that in mind. Don't be upset with what floor you get. I know it seems like a big deal, but it's really not. You don't spend much time in your room regardless. But having that AC pop in at night was A+. I'm not mad at it. But next, you are going to get a bracelet. It kind of looks like a watch. That's going to be how you're going to keep track of your drink tab on the boat. So every time you order a drink, you're going to scan your wristband, and the total is just going to keep racking up through your trip, and you pay at the end. So keep that in mind. It's going to feel like an all-inclusive type thing, but it is adding up, and you're going to have to pay it at the end. That's just for any extra drinks. There's water on board, but sodas, juices, coffees. Actually, I think there was like basic coffee that was included for breakfast. I don't know. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I think that was included. But yeah, soda, juices, alcohol, all of that's going to be extra, and it's going to add up. You're going to use your bracelet to keep track of it, but just remember that it is racking up. It's not all inclusive. You're going to have to pay for it at the end. Along that same kind of topic of alcohol, there is a happy hour every night. And for like a certain amount of time, I think it's like an hour and a half, there's going to be specific drinks that are 10% off. And the selected drinks are going to change every night. So like one night was like tequila mixes. So you're going to have like a basic tequila mix. So you're going to have like a happy hour. Like I said, you're going to have to pay the drink tab at the end of the trip. And you can pay with your card, but you do get a discount if you pay in cash. So something to keep in mind, I didn't have enough cash to pay for the tab at the time, so I just paid with my card. But if you prefer to pay in cash and get that little discount, whatever it was, I think it was like 10% maybe, then keep track and save your cash or go get cash before you have to pay for it. And next, I'll talk about the staff on board. We had the best crew. They were amazing, all so nice, so fun to be around. And along with that, the food. Guys, the food was so good. Some people didn't like it, but I think because I'm not a picky eater, like I loved every single meal. Every single meal was 3 courses. Like to start, breakfast is a buffet. So breakfast every morning is a buffet. Pretty simple selections and not like super wide variety, but it's a buffet. There's food you can eat. Lunches were all 3-course meal. Every single lunch is included. I think there's like one day where it's like a little different, but lunches are generally included, 3-course meals. And then there's a few dinners that are also included, 3-course meals. Again, everything was just so good. I was truly shocked at the quality of the food that we were served on this boat. Like, did not expect it at all. Like, presentation was always there. Like, no notes, they killed it. They did their big one. I was a big fan of all the food. And yeah, I think that's all I need to cover for the boat. Oh, the key is like a physical key, but you can leave it in the dining room, so you don't have to carry it around with you. So you and your roommate can just like leave it in the dining room and then take it when you need it, put it back. It wasn't ever an issue for us. Something I see a lot of people ask about the boat are the room sizes. I, again, was in the basement, and I feel like our room was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I had so much space to store all my stuff, and yeah, I never felt crammed or like claustrophobic. Under my bed fit both my checked bag, which is a medium checked bag, my mini weekender, and my backpack. No problem. So yeah, our room, no issues with space. There's a lot of places to like hang your clothes inside and outside. So yeah, no complaints. Like I said, no notes, 10 out of 10. I love Le Méridien. Best boat. All right, let's dive into the excursions. So we'll start with the excursions that are offered through the EF like website. First one is Kirka National Park. When I looked at the website last, they were offering it for $115. I don't remember how much I booked it for, but right now, at the time that I'm filming this video, it is $115. I definitely recommend this excursion. I feel like roughly half of our group ended up doing it through the EF offered option, and some people booked it like through Viator and they went off and did their own thing. But I really liked the EF offering. We had private transfers to everything. I feel like we had enough time everywhere, and the swim stop that you go to after you go to the national park was great and super chill, really nice and pretty. So I feel like it was a good start to the trip. I would recommend booking it. Those waterfalls are like insane to see, and like pictures and videos will never do it justice. Like being there in person, you need it. You need to do it. So definitely recommend that excursion. Next was the Bosnia excursion. Right now I see that they're offering it for $130. It was nice. It was a good time. I'm glad that I went, and I feel like if I hadn't gone, there was nothing that I would have done, like wanted to do otherwise. But it is a lot of bus time. I'll go over that when we're diving into the itinerary. It's a lot of bus time, and it was hot. Like the heat in Bosnia hit different. It kind of hurt my soul. It felt like walking through an oven, and that was just so rough. And I'll also talk about this later, but the bridge that you have to walk over is so slippery. So when my tour director said don't wear slippery shoes, like I underestimated it. I didn't really have that many options to choose from, but I wore sandals and I was slipping and sliding. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, it was just hot. It was just really hot, but it was beautiful. And I'm really glad I went. I got a passport stamp. And for that reason, I would recommend to book it. It was worth taking a day trip to another country. So I always love that. I love adding countries to my list, so I'll take any opportunity to do so. But last offered EF excursion is the day trip to Montenegro. Also another opportunity to add a country to your list. Another passport stamp to acquire. I enjoyed it. I really recommend it. I liked Montenegro more than I liked Bosnia. I think that has to do with the heat. Bosnia was literally unbearable. I don't know if it's always like that, but it was so freaking hot. I felt like my skin was burning off. But anyway, yeah, Montenegro, it gave me Disneyland vibes, like very storybook town, like so cute. I really liked it. You take a boat ride to like this little island that has just a church. So that was really cool. And then you go into like Qatar. And it just felt like fairy tale-ish. And all we did was walk around and eat, but I really liked it. It was so pretty. and I'm glad that I went. So I would recommend it. Again, another opportunity to check a country off your list, so why not? Now let's talk about the 2 excursions that Ivana offered. These are optional excursions that we paid directly to Ivana if we would like to opt into them. The first one was the Game of Thrones tour. I didn't do this one, but she was offering it for 40 euros. I obviously can't rate it because I didn't do it. I just felt like it was a 2-hour-long walking excursion after we had already had an hour-long walking tour, and it was hot as hell in Dubrovnik. So I just was not down, and I also have never watched Game of Thrones. Anyways, so yeah, if that's something you're into, do it. But I also didn't feel like I missed out. I'll be real. That's probably because I haven't watched it. So, and then she offered a winery excursion in Korčula. I think that's how you say it, but I'll put it here. This is where we did the winery excursion. It was also 40 euros, and if this gets offered to you, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. 10 out of 10 recommend. I love all the winery excursions though, so maybe that's just me. But the location itself was so pretty. You got to walk through like the little vineyards, and the wine was really good. We got like 3 or 4, I believe. And then you got a big charcuterie board to share with like the table. And we got so many cute pictures that I'll put everywhere. And yeah, I really like this winery excursion, and definitely do it if it's an option for you. Okay, now let's get into the itinerary. So day 1 and 2 I kind of lumped together because day 1 is really just flying in, which I already went over my flight path, and day 2 is arrival day. So like I said, I arrived at 2:15 p.m., had my little transfer over to the hotel, and then we had an orientation meeting at 7:15 p.m. at the hotel, which is just where the tour director gets everyone together, kind of introduces yourself, everyone goes around, kind of introduces themselves, and we talk about what's going to happen on the tour and like expectations, rules, all that jazz. So that is what happens at the orientation meeting. We left for the welcome dinner immediately after, and the main dish at the welcome dinner was seafood risotto. I remember we did have like a course before that. I feel like it was a soup. I could be wrong, but I feel like it was a soup. I don't remember, but I feel like it was a soup. But the main was seafood risotto, and I remember it being really good. After dinner, we walked over to the city center and got some gelato, went to a few bars, and then at 10:45, you had the option to meet up with Ivana again, so you can take a bus, transfer back to the hotel, or you can end up staying, which is what we did, staying later and finding your own way back, which is Uber. So we Ubered back. I don't remember how long we stayed out. I don't remember it being too late, but we did stay later than the 10:45 meetup point with Ivana. So that was day 1 and 2. Day 3, breakfast started at the hotel at 6:30. You can go at any time, but we had to be out and ready to leave by 9 a.m. And a note about this day, if you're going on the Krka National Park excursion, we did have to have our swimsuits on underneath our clothes and have everything we wanted or needed for that excursion with us during the walking tour and all of that jazz, because we were not coming back to the hotel. So just a note. Then we had to meet up with our local guide at 9:30 for an hour-long walking tour. After that walking tour, we had 30 minutes of free time to go shop for snacks, or some people went to get water shoes, just walk around the market, whatever you needed to do within that 30 minutes, because we were meeting up again at 11 for our Krka National Park excursion. Of course, if you didn't book it, then the rest of the day is free. But for those of us that did book it, we had to meet up at 11. It was like an hour-and-a-half bus drive away, and we had around an hour to explore the park once we got there, which I felt like was more than enough time. It didn't take us that much time, and it was freaking hot. I think that's going to be the theme for the whole trip. It was just so hot. So like we did what we needed to do, walk to the waterfall, and then we sat down in the shade because it was just that hot. But it was beautiful. And then we got back on the bus and we drove not too far away for a swim stop. And we had a few hours there and we just chilled on the beach. People had some drinks. The water was beautiful. It was clear. It was chill. There was no waves. So it was just a great time. So after that swim spot, we got back on the bus and we arrived back at the hotel around 6 p.m. And then we had free time for the rest of the day. So we went to the city center for dinner, came back and slept. That was day 3. Moving on to day 4. Sorry if I'm looking away from the camera. I'm looking at my handy dandy iPad for my notes because I don't want to miss anything. So day 4, breakfast again started at 6:30. You can go at any time, but we had to be out and ready by 8 a.m. if you signed up for the Bosnia excursion. Of course, if you didn't sign up, then it's another free day. So for this excursion, something to keep in mind is that you need to bring your passport and make sure your shoes aren't slippery. Kind of touched on this when I was going over the excursions, but the stones on that bridge are so slippery already. So make sure that your shoes have some sort of grip. I wore sandals and was slipping and sliding everywhere, which isn't a big deal. There's like railings for you to hold on to, but I almost ate it a few times. So just something to keep in mind. I want to throw that out there. Our tour director did warn us about that like the day before. So she told us to keep that in mind when choosing our shoe selection for the day. So just throwing it out there. So got on the bus at 8 a.m. It was a 3-hour bus ride, and we made a one stop for bathrooms and snacks. And then we had an hour walking tour once we arrived in Bosnia. Then we had 2.5 to 3 hours of free time. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was somewhere within that range. 2.5 to 3 hours of free time to get food, to walk around, to shop, to like sightsee, to take pictures. Some people did like this little boat thing along the river. I just really wanted to touch the water because I heard it was super, super cold. So we went down there, touched the water, and then went back up. We left Mostar at 3 p.m.-ish, and we arrived back at the hotel at 6 p.m. And then again, it was another free night. We ate at the hotel restaurant that night. I got truffle pasta that night, and it was delicious. And then we went to the city center for a chill rooftop bar type night. We ended up going to Roof 68 was the place. It was super trendy, a lot of young people, had some cute drinks, just talked about other trips we had gone on and all that jazz, got to know each other better, and then came back to the hotel and slept. Day 5 is the most exciting day of the trip. It was boat boarding day. We had breakfast starting at 6:30 again, but you can go at any time, and we had to be out and ready with all our stuff at 10:30 in the lobby because that's when we were checking out. We got a bus transfer to the boat and boarded all our luggage to the common area. So to get your luggage onto the boat, you really have to hope that your boat is not like the 10th one in line, because think of like a sidewalk, right? Picture it with me. So there's a sidewalk, and then the boats will line up like one behind the other, behind the other, behind the other. So if yours is like the 10th one in line, you're gonna have to cross 9 boats to get to yours. So ours ended up being not too far back, but pretty far back. You had to carry your bags across all those boats, and think of like the boats aren't going to fit perfectly together. So there's like gaps between the boats. You're like lugging your luggage. We got a system down. The guys were helping all the girls to get our luggage across because a lot of us had a lot of luggage and it was heavy. So it was a time, but we did it. Got all our luggage on. We left it in like the common area, like I said, and then we had around an hour of free time to go back into the city center, go buy snacks, go buy water shoes. We bought floaties. Some people bought goggles. Everything that you needed for the boat, you had time to go get. Some people went to get cash. Just like, it's just your last chance to like walk around the city center before you get on the boat, really. Then we had to be back on the boat by 12:15 because that's when we were doing the room lottery. I touched a little bit about this when I was talking about the boat, but room assignments is basically a lottery. So I think we selected a paper out of a hat type situation, and you end up with what you got. So like I said, ended up in the basement. I was truly happy about it. Didn't really have too much of like a preference, but after the fact, I was truly happy with getting the basement, just in regards to the AC and the space that we had. Also never got motion sick. Not sure if the people higher up did, but there were nights that I could feel the rocking, but it wasn't bad. So I was really glad to be in the basement. And yeah, so we got a room assignment, and then at 12:30 we sat in the little common area, and the crew came out to give us a welcome speech and like just a little rundown meeting type thing. We got cute drinks. This is when Stephanie gave us our little welcome sailor hats, which was cute with our name on it. And yeah, so that happened. And then at 1 p.m. we had our first lunch on board and we started sailing. At 3:45 was our first swim break. So basically during a swim break, the boat is going to anchor down somewhere and you jump off, you go swim, you can jump off the top, you can walk down the steps and just sit in your floaty, you can swim around, whatever you want to do, but the water is so clear, so beautiful. It felt so nice because it was so hot out. And yeah, so that was starting at 3:45, and you just chill out until you have your next obligation. Ours was at 5. The water taxi was picking us up to take us into Hvar for a 45-minute walking tour. And after that walking tour, we had free time for dinner, and we basically had to kill time because our boat wasn't going to dock until around 8 p.m.-ish. Like I said, we got picked up by a water taxi, so our boat was like in the middle of the ocean somewhere. The water taxi came, picked us up, brought us to shore, and then our boat couldn't dock until 8 p.m. Not sure why. That's probably just some type of rule that Hvar has, but that's what happened. So we basically just, after dinner, had to kill time until our boat got there so that we can get back on and get ready for the night, because at 10:15, we were meeting up with Ivana at Nautica Bar, and she had a surprise for us. The surprise ended up being, if you haven't watched my vlog, it's in there, but it's like they line up a whole bunch of shots, they light them on fire, blah, blah, blah. So exciting. Everyone gets a shot. So we did that. Then we bar hopped a bit from Nautica to the one next door, which is like 7, I believe it was called. Then we tried to go to another bar, but they were charging cover, and we were like, why would we do that when all the other ones are free? So we went back to where we started and just like continued to hop everywhere until we got tired and went back to the boat. You can stay out as late as you want, but just have to be back before the boat starts sailing again. And it was starting to sail at 5 a.m. So you just had to be back before 5 a.m. I think we got back at like 2, 3-ish that first night. So nothing too crazy. Day 6, the halfway point of the trip. Breakfast on the boat was from 8:30 to 9:30. You can show up if you want to. A lot of people didn't. I made sure to not skip breakfast because I just wanted to make sure I had my food. So I was always at breakfast. You can literally go in your pajamas, grab food, and then go back to bed. Like, was not a big deal, but 8:30 to 9:30 is the only time that food is going to be out for breakfast. So keep that in mind. Then our swim stop was from 10:15 to 12 that day. We had lunch at 12:30, and then we docked in Mijet. Put it here because I feel like I never say that right. But we docked here at 2 p.m. And then we had to meet up off the boat at 2:15 because Ivana was walking us into the national park. And then once we got into the park, it was like a 30-ish minute little hike into the park. We had free time to swim, kayak, just chill. It was really cool because it's like 2 lakes that are connected by this little current. And so you can just like lazy river yourself down between the 2 lakes. And I basically did that for the entire time that I was there. I was like a little kid at a water park, like literally just going down the little current, coming back, going down, coming back. And that's basically all we did. But it was a really fun time. The water was so nice. And it was just like in the middle of like a national park. Like you're surrounded by trees and nature. And it was really cool. There were a few people that did go on kayaks, but basically, once we got there, we had free time and we can stay as long as we wanted. But something to keep in mind is that the boat left the dock from 4 to 5 p.m. So if you didn't make it there before 4, there wasn't going to be no boat for you to board. And there's pretty much nothing else to do on this island. So you might as well just stay at the national park and swim for a bit until the boat came back. So that's basically what we did. I don't remember exactly what time the boat got back to the dock so that you can get back on. But from 4 to 5, it was gone. I feel like probably like 5:15, 5:30, the boat was back. So we got back on to get ready for our captain dinner, which was that night at 7:30. And that's the same night that you'll do your white party. So everyone wears white and we play music on board. And it's just a fun time. For that dinner, we did have like steak. The captain comes to talk to you, gives you a little cheers. And then everyone plays music. We're all drinking. We're all having fun on board. Again, because there's nothing else to do on Mijet, on the island. So that's why everyone kind of parties on their boat that night. We were next to a boat of Australians, and they were wild. In these ports, quiet hours usually hit around like 11 p.m. So at 11, you're usually supposed to turn off your music or like just like lower it so like it's not a nuisance. But we were next to these Australians, and once 11 hit, we turned off our music and we're just like talking and playing games and chilling. But the Australians next to us were going hard, and I think I have a clip of that in my vlog. But they were going hard. They were like, quiet hours who? They did not care. But yeah, that's what happened on day 6. Day 7, the boat started sailing at 5 a.m. Breakfast again from 8:30 to 9:30. Show up if you want to, or don't. No one cares. Then we were supposed to have a swim stop from 9:45 to 12. But due to weather, we only stopped for like 30 minutes. And had to stay holding on to like this cord that attached to the boat. So like if you wanted to get in the water for those 30 minutes, you had to agree to hold on to the cord so you wouldn't float away because the wind was crazy. That is pretty much a theme for our whole trip. Wind was not our friend. Yeah, I was still glad to get in the water for those 30 minutes or whatever. Then we had lunch at 12:30. Had a bus transfer to the city center of Dubrovnik at 2:15. We had a walking tour for about an hour from 2:30 to 3:30. And then after that is when you would do the Game of Thrones tour if you sign up for it. I didn't, so I had free time. And so I think I just walked around, shopped a little. We went into a cave wine bar type situation. That was cool. We sat there for a while. It was nice and cool, which was needed because, again, it's just so freaking hot outside. And then Ivana made reservations at this place called Port 22. It was a really cool scenic bar from 6 to 7. So we all met up there, had a few drinks together, and then we had free time for the rest of the night. So I believe we just walked around the city center, found somewhere to have dinner, and then went back to the boat. Pretty chill, low-key night. Day 8. This is the day of the Montenegro day trip if you sign up for that. So if you did, you will be leaving pretty early in the morning. We had to be on the bus by 6:30 sharp. And don't forget to bring your passport. It's another country, so of course you need to carry your passport. We had a 2-hour bus ride, and then once we got there, we had a guided tour, a boat ride, and then free time for lunch. And then around 2:45 is when we left Montenegro. We arrived back to our boat around 6 p.m. 7 p.m. we had an included dinner on board. The reason we had a dinner on board that night is because since we were in Montenegro, instead of a lunch that is usually included, they made us dinner instead, which was really nice. After dinner, we all went back to our rooms, chilled, got ready because we were meeting at 11 p.m. at Club Revlin. So we all met Ivana at 11 p.m. outside of Club Revlin, and we all went in together, and that was a super fun night. That club is inside of a fortress, so it was a really cool experience. It was different. It was EDM music, so if you don't like that, you're probably not gonna like it, but it was cool. We didn't stay too long because we were just so exhausted, but I had a fun time. Then day 9, we started sailing at 6 a.m. Again, breakfast from 8:30 to 9:30. Our swim stop ended up being from 11:40 to 1 due to weather, so it was cut short. It was supposed to be longer, but 11:40 to 1 is what we had. Then we had lunch from 1 to 2. And then at 3 p.m., we got off the boat to go to Korčula. Probably not saying that right, but it's right here. 45-minute walking tour that day. After that, we had a little bit of time to just walk around by ourselves, get gelato, go shopping, whatever you wanted to do. And then at 4:40, we met back up for our optional winery excursion if you sign up for that. We got on a bus, took us to the winery, we had our wine, yada, yada, yada. We got back to the city center around 6:15. And then at 7:45, Ivana had made a reservation at Massimo Cocktail Bar, which is on top of I believe it's a fortress. I keep calling everything a fortress, but I believe that was a fortress. And we had drinks, watched the sunset. It was beautiful. It was just one of those things that like pictures and videos are just never going to do justice to. And it was just a really cool experience. You had to climb like a ladder to get through this little hole to get up to the bar. It was just so cool. Something you don't get to experience every day. Then after that, we had free time for dinner. And at 10:50, we met up at a club. I say club because it was just like a little bar situation, but people were dancing. So I guess that makes it a club. I don't know. But it was a €10 cover charge to get in. That cover charge included 1 drink. So that was cool. The music was not very good, so we didn't stay long at all. We were hoping for good music because our tour director said that they usually play good music, but it was just not it. So, oh well. Day 10, we started sailing at 6:30. We had breakfast again, 8:30 to 9:30 every day. We were supposed to have a swim stop from 10 to 12:30, but it got completely canceled due to weather. The wind strikes again, but instead we docked in Makarska. Probably not saying it right. Here it is. We docked here early. And at 11:15, we got off to do a small orientation walk. Ivana just led us around and showed us like the main key points so that we can get around. At 12, we headed back to the boat for lunch. And then after that, we had free time for the rest of the day. So what we did is we went to the beach and I got a massage on the beach. It was amazing. I think I still have the prices. I will insert them here if I do. They were pretty affordable. Being 10 days into the trip, a massage definitely hit. So 10 out of 10 recommend if you are going to the beach and need something to do, get a massage. After that, we went back onto the boat. We had an included dinner that night on the boat. It was a barbecue themed dinner. And so we did that at 7:30. And after dinner, we sang karaoke in the dining room for a bit. That's when Ivana gave us her concert. She is a star. I sang a song. lots of other people in my group sang. It was cool to see everyone like perform for each other. So that was cool. And then at 10:15, we met up outside of the boat to go to Club Deep, I believe it was called. It's a cave bar. So it's literally a club inside of a cave right next to the beach. I have a clip of it in my vlog, but it was so cool. I really enjoyed it. But we had a few run-ins with some of the crowd. There were these elevated surfaces that a lot of people in our group were dancing on. And then there were these Australian girls that were trying to also dance on there, but they were like pushing our people off and like being rude about it. And so some of us confronted them, and then they started to get a little snarky, and like they put gum in one of our people's hair, and it got weird. So I moved away from the elevated surface and went outside and was just chilling on the beach. And there was another bar like up these steps, which is also, I don't know how to explain it, but it was super cool. And after that, I didn't stay very long. I was tired again. I think I'm getting old. I headed back to the boat. I ended up getting pizza on the way back to the boat. Went back to the boat, ate my pizza, just chilled in the common area with some people, and it was just a chill night. Day 11, last full day of the trip. We started sailing around 5 a.m. Breakfast again, 8:30 to 9:30. 9:30 we docked and split. You would usually have a last swim stop this day, but because of the wind, our swim stop got completely canceled and we just went straight to split instead. So we docked around 9:30. We had free time, and I used this free time to go souvenir shopping because I hadn't done any souvenir shopping. So I went off on my own and just did that. Got that taken care of. Got back on the boat because we had lunch at 12. After that is when we had to pay our bar tabs. So we had from 1:30 to 2:30 to go into the dining room to pay off our bar tabs. After that, if you wanted a drink, you would just have to pay like per drink, no more tabs. So yeah, had to get that taken care of. After that, we had free time again. So what I did is I went to go get a tattoo. So during the first chunk of free time that we had before lunch, I had actually gone to a tattoo shop and asked if they had availability. They didn't have availability at that moment, but they told me to come back later. So that's what I did. It ended up fitting perfectly in that little schedule of free time that we had that day. So got my tattoo, headed back to the boat to chill. I sat on the top deck for a while, read my book. And then at 7 p.m., we had our farewell dinner at the city center. And then after that, we walked around a bit, our last moments together, but we did have a very early wake-up call the next day. So we headed back to the boat pretty early, finished packing, getting all that ready. Then day 12, it's just, we had to be off the boat at 4:30 for our airport transfer, and then we flew home. So that was the itinerary. Lastly, I'm just gonna go over some tips, tricks, some things that are like must-haves, a little bit of packing information that might be useful, and things of that sort, just miscellaneous things that don't fit into any of the other previous categories. So first and foremost, something that I feel is a must is a microfiber or fast drying towel. On the boat, you'll have like bath towels provided, but you're not really supposed to take them out of your room. So when you're laying on the top deck and like to dry yourself after going in the ocean, you're gonna wanna have your own personal towel, and it is probably best if it's a fast drying material, because being in the basement, stuff didn't really dry down there, so you would have to hang it outside. I see that a lot of people ask about swimsuits always. Most commonly asked question I see on the EF Facebook page is like, how many swimsuits did you guys take? I took 7. And that might sound crazy to you, but I wore every single one. Say what you want, but I wore every single one. Of course, you don't have to pack 7 if that's not you. I don't like repeating things, so that's just me. If you don't mind repeating swimsuits, you can hang them outside. They have like a little clothesline that you can hang your swimsuits on the boat, and it's no biggie. Do what you gotta do. But I packed 7 and I wore all of them. One thing I wish I had packed more of is like lounging outfits or like casual boat outfits, because I had planned my swimsuits and cover-ups, and I had packed my like going out outfits and like day outfits, but I didn't pack anything in between. So like to go to lunch on the boat, you can't be wearing a wet swimsuit. So you would change into like something casual. But I didn't really have many options, so I ended up wearing like the same like biker shorts and t-shirt every single time. So that's something to keep in mind. Pack some like casual, just like lounging outfits that you can wear around the boat. Go to lunch so that you're not wearing a wet swimsuit and whatnot. So yeah, that's something I wish I had done that I didn't. Card was essentially accepted everywhere. I didn't really experience, even at the market, like the little stalls had card readers. So I didn't really experience anywhere that didn't take card. I will say that the bar in Makarska, the cave one, they took card, but only if you spent over 30. So if you spent under $30, you had to use cash. Your boat tab, the bar tab on the boat, you could pay in card. But again, I think I mentioned it at the beginning, you get a little discount if you pay in cash. So something to keep in mind. And the only time I really used cash was to tip everybody. So yeah. Another must-have is a handheld fan. Must. Must. It is hot. You're going to want a handheld fan. Pretty self-explanatory. Another thing that I would pack is like your Kindle or like books, or like if you're not into reading, like just activities to do on the boat, because you just never know what the weather's going to be like. So for example, our trip had a lot of like canceled or like shortened swim stops. So instead of swimming, we were just chilling on the boat. So if I didn't have like my Kindle, I feel like I would just be sitting there. A lot of people did just nap on the top deck, but always nice to have something to do to like keep occupied. Also, some of the swim stops are pretty long, so if you're not going to want to be in the water the whole time, just be reading. Just like have something to do, I think is useful. Along the same lines, be flexible, keep an open mind. You can't control the weather. EF can't control the weather. Your boat crew can't control the weather. So like things that may change. Like I said, some of our swim stops got completely canceled. Some of them got shortened. Some of them we were able to get in the water, but we couldn't go swimming. We had to hold on to the cord. So just like keep an open mind. Weather is so unpredictable. You're still on a boat in Croatia. Like, you know, things are going to happen. All right. I can only speak for going in July because that's when I went, but Croatia is hot. Croatia's hot. Bosnia was even hotter. Montenegro is still pretty warm, but not as hot. It's just hot. Keep that in mind when you're packing. Wear dresses, linen, shorts, lightweight clothes. Packing, another thing is, I feel like you need more outfits than you initially think. Like I said, I wish I had packed more lounge outfits, but think like you need bathing suits and cover-ups. You need a day outfit if you're going to wear something different during the walking tours than you are when you're going out at night. Like, I changed a couple times a day. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I had a few outfits a day. I had like my swim outfit, my walking tour and dinner outfit, and then sometimes I would change to go out. Like, just depends on your personal thing. Like, if you want to wear one outfit all day, totally fine. But just keep in mind that you will be sweating. You just may want to change. So you may need more clothes than you initially think. Just something I wanted to throw out there. Water shoes. I think they're a must, but I also just don't like the feeling of like seaweed and like rocks and dirt on my toes when I'm in the water. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like they were useful, especially in Majet, especially at this national park, because you're in like a lake. There was like rocks on the entrance. It was just nice to have water shoes. So I definitely recommend water shoes. Sunscreen. I don't burn and I burned. My roommate on this trip, poor Elizabeth, if you're watching this, man, she was a lobster after day one on the boat. Like just, and she wore sunscreen. She just probably didn't reapply as much as she needed, but that sun she's strong. So take sunscreen, wear sunscreen, reapply. Just keep in mind your sunscreen. Sunscreen's important. Another tip. This is the tip that I wish I had known or wish I had done before the trip, is looking up restaurants in each of the cities that I would want to eat at. Maybe having like potential like options in each place that I would want to go to, because I didn't do that. And so I felt like, especially in Dubrovnik, we were just walking around aimlessly trying to find a place to eat for a long time. And we ended up eating at some really good places, but that could have been avoided if we had had some like idea of where to go beforehand. So I feel like plan that out, look into your research before you go, might be super helpful. I think I touched on this before, but water is available at all times on the boat. There's like a water dispenser thing. I would take a water bottle of your own so that you can fill up, so that you don't have to keep going back to the water thing to like dispense. I don't even think they had cups out if you didn't have a water bottle. But I would recommend a water bottle. And I always had my water bottle on me. It's hot, like I said. You're laying in the sun. You're going to want to be hydrated. So, water bottle. Lastly, I just wanted to touch on another thing that gets asked about pretty much every EF trip is the tipping. So, this is the little guide that our tour director gave us for this trip because it is a little different than the traditional EF trip. So for the tour director, pretty in line with the usual EF guidelines, she recommended 100 to 120 euros, which is pretty in line with what EF recommends because they recommend 10 to 12 a day of the trip, and this was a 12-day trip. Technically, 2 of the days are travel days, so even if you're going to pay for the 10 actual days, still $100, you know, that's for the tour director. But on this trip, you're also going to want to tip the boat crew, which is something additional that's not obviously part of other EF trips, but Ivana recommended 60 to 90 for the boat crew, and this is something that you'll put in an envelope and you'll leave in your room at the end of the trip. I think it was in your room, or maybe they had like a little box, but it's for the boat crew. So 60 to 90 is what they recommend for that. And then for local guides, anywhere from like 1 to 3 euros is what we typically give them. All right, that's everything that I had written down in my little notes. But final thoughts, overall thoughts about this trip was that it is one of my favorites so far. I've been on 9, and it's definitely like top, I want to say top 3, but yeah, you know what? I'll give it top 3. Don't know what order I'd put my top 3, but it's either top 3 or top 5. It's high up there. It was a good trip. I think the group I went with has a lot to do with that as well. But everyone that's gone on Cruise Croatia with the EF Ultimate Break has said like nothing but amazing things. So the trip itself is just amazing. And I would definitely recommend, if you made it this far, you are amazing. And remember that I do have some sort of discount link down below, depending on when you're watching this video. May not be an ambassador anymore, but I will still have a discount down below for you to use. I'm hoping to be a little more active on YouTube this year. I am taking a little break from dancing for a little bit, so I'm gonna have more time to dedicate. I am getting my doctorate right now though, so school is also a lot, but I'm hoping to be more consistent on here. I do have lots of ideas of what to post. There are a lot of recap and reviews that I didn't do for past trips, so I'm hoping to get back on track with those. I do have a trip to Vietnam in November with the EF Ultimate Break. I'm hoping to potentially book a last minute trip for this summer, potentially. There's just a lot of things I'm hoping to do. We'll see if I go through with it all, but yeah, stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Bye, friends.